As a training tool, you can use the independent video for the guided practicum 3 over and over until you feel that the process has become yours, and then integrate it into your own core practice by making personalized modifications. On my end, as the teacher of this training program, I've programmed it in such a way that guided, there are deliberate safeguards in place. That means what spirit entities or energy bodies can come through are limited. Don't worry, limited in a healthy, protective way. Some more quick tips. The two cards you place down beside your significator can be in any order, left then right or right then left. Order of placement laterally isn't going to impact your reading unless you want it to. Again, the way I've programmed this, it's not going to matter. They're equal hand in hand. The card above you, I always see as what to anticipate, or possible opportunities and events to come, or the spirit presence sensing another spirit presence close to you and is revealing that identity. I see this card as what I have to reach for. What's below me is what's still having an impact on me in ways perhaps I'm not paying attention to. It's sometimes bad habits, it's perhaps foundations that is determinative of the things I'm asking about. It's pretty much the ground I'm standing on. One final instructional point for Practicum 3. Recall the recitation and reference to being a tower with the light of your beacon on. What we're activating is you as a lighthouse of sorts. How I instruct the training here is to think of yourself as a lighthouse, and when you turn the light on at the top of your crown, it becomes a beacon signaling out to spirit entities. It's a way of signaling and guiding them to your shores so that they can be present for the divination. But since we've got training wheels on, there is a barrier we've also put up, a ward of sorts, a defense system that enables us to block certain energetic frequencies of spirit entities. At least that's the metaphor that I like to work with. I think it aptly explains what it is we're trying to do. So, moving on. In the age of science, I guess the question to ask for the 21st century is witchcraft and magic obsolete? Recall a quote from Aleister Crowley: magic is a third way to cause change in conformity with will between science and religion. I don't claim to know what witchcraft or magic is, but I'm set on the quest to find out. Here's what's interesting though. Let's just talk social conditions and politics for a moment. Throughout modern history, you'll find almost a massive mainstream cultural shift toward trending witchcraft when there are palpable shifts in the political landscape. One example of that is the 90s. Socially, a lot was going on in the 90s for marginalized classes. Supreme Court wise in the United States, you had some serious social changes going on for historically underprivileged groups. Sex discrimination in the job market was something we finally took notice of. The very first American Disabilities Act case was heard before the Supreme Court in the 90s involving the employment of those who were HIV positive. College campuses were getting more and more racially diverse. Multiculturalism was the buzzword for the decade. Neoliberalism also defined economics in the 90s, and neoliberalism is like the economic equivalent to solitary witchcraft. Kinda, sorta. I mean, sort of, right? Anyway, so with that backdrop of politics and economics in the 90s, we see a noticeable trend in pop culture toward witchcraft. For the tarot community, the 90s was also pretty significant. This is when you get a popularization of tarot in a way that made tarot decks more readily available. Ask anyone from back in the day, you couldn't just get a tarot deck just because you wanted one. It wasn't easy to source them. In the 90s, that dynamic changed drastically. Also, tarot readers and witches no longer had to feel so alone. The cultural shift onto the World Wide Web was landmark for witches, occultists, and tarot readers. Chain bookstores also began stocking tarot decks, and so this was the decade we saw a rise in tarot deck publishing. There is another era in time when we saw a revivalism of witchcraft and the occult. World War II. It's around this era that we see the founding of Wicca as a modern tradition in witchcraft, a reclaiming of paganism, and an era when all sorts of conspiracy theories and claims circulated about our government trying to weaponize ESP, extrasensory perception. This was also, of course, the time of Nazi occultism, which I won't get into further in this course, but by itself is a massive, compelling topic. After the World War II era, another surge in revivalist culture of witchcraft occurred in the 60s and 70s, which at this time also melded with other various spiritual and metaphysical trends, producing the New Age movement. Again, rising popularity of witchcraft, tarot, and occultism run concurrent with political and social symptoms. For the 60s and 70s, that would be civil rights. The Vietnam War and the anti-war protests or counterculture it generated is also significant and symptomatic. Witchcraft, in case you haven't picked up on, is fundamentally counterculture and subversive. Another interesting political observation is that every time we see a rise in popularity of witchcraft, and I am not claiming causation or even correlation, just fascinating observable synchronicity, we also see a resurgence of political conservatism. In all the previous decades I mentioned, we saw an established and mobilized far right trying to suppress and push back the simmering social and civil changes. Now let's jump to the present decade. In recent years, in case you've been living in an underground bunker without internet, the blogosphere has been all abuzz about witchcraft and tarot. Tarot became fashionable. Beauty and makeup gurus got into it, inspiring all sorts of provocative creativity. Fashion magazines like Vogue started teaching Tarot 101. Not a joke, true story. Tarot as the trending topic of the day was so newsworthy, the New York Times picked up on it. Looking witchy is cool right now. A whole bunch of fashion and beauty advice articles sprouted in the last few years around how to dress witchy, but hand in hand with the fashion commentary about why the occult is trending at the moment is also political and social commentary. That's where it gets interesting. That trend has been getting so pervasive that those paying attention will notice that other forms of media are picking up on the trending witchcraft movement as well. But now getting seriously, here's why. As one article put it, quote, in the hyper-masculine age of Trump, tarot, astrology, crystal healing, and witchcraft are firmly in vogue. Witchcraft, it seems, bubbles up to the surface of social consciousness every time we see extremism in social or civil rights, whenever the far left and far right move to their extreme polar ends. Weirdly enough, witchcraft, occultism, and tarot becomes popular. That is why earlier I said shifts of interest toward witchcraft, tarot, and occultism are almost always symptomatic of shifts in our political landscape. So we return to the question, is witchcraft and magic going obsolete? Will it ever go obsolete? Back in Module 1, the introduction to this course, we posed the question, what is witchcraft? Study global history and you'll notice a pattern of witchcraft and occultism, and in the modern era, by extension, tarot, moving into the forefront of the mainstream consciousness when there is a widening disparity between these social classes. Instances of political extremism seem somehow, I don't know how, I'm not saying I can connect the dots, but somehow are connected to trending witchcraft. So on that observation, here's my speculative theory. Sure, witchcraft will go obsolete when socioeconomic and political powers are evenly balanced, meaning never. Calling your attention back to Crowley's quote about magic, I see tarot as a rectification tool, a balancing of the scales. To be specific, it's the sword that transcends the balancing scales of science and religion. Now, as we are winding down to the conclusion of this course, here I'm inserting nothing more than pure personal opinion and wild speculation. This is just me talking out of my ass. But this is what I've been thinking, okay? The modern day witch is like a hacker, a metaphysical hacker. We help ourselves and help others who lack so-called front door access to information or resources by using an alternative modality of energy to still gain entry, but via a figurative back door. If I can't find something out through physical channels of communication, then I'll turn to the tarot to find out that information through metaphysical channels of communication. To me, tarot and witchcraft, and using tarot in witchcraft, is not magical law of attraction, manifest bags of money and my one true love to inflame into my life. It's about acknowledging an imbalance of access or even a miscarriage of justice, and then trying to level the playing field by bringing me opportunities to then do what I gotta do to earn bags of money or settle scores. It's God's gift to the outcasts. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Back to your regularly scheduled programming. We can't cover all the subcategories of tarot and witchcraft and occultism that you see presented on the screen. To me, though, just because I'm interested in these topics, I totally see this as a checklist of what to study and someday try to master with the tarot. Before we wrap up this course, I'd like to present for your consideration practicum number 4 on using tarot to interact with terrestrial or land spirits. Terrestrial spirits personified relate to the mythology of fairies, undines, or nymphs in Western folklore, tree or mountain spirits in Eastern lore. We're going to be using the tarot to commune with a tree spirit. Wait, what? I know some of you are thinking, I know you. You're already thinking to yourself, nope, nope, I am not going to ride the crazy train with this bitch. Take another walk with me. Wait, that looks kind of spooky, not that path, hold on. Better, this one's better, right? In practicum number 4, we'll be using tarot to commune with land spirits.